Okay, this is an instruction video on how to use the Corvallis, City of Corvallis application or Excel workbook. It used to be an application, and I moved everything to an Excel workbook and kind of created my own program here because we were having so many problems with the old application that came with the textbook. So this will be an all Excel based application going forward. So the first thing to know is that the instructions for actually making the entries are on, first of all, this is a semester long project, actually goes from modules 2 through 9. And basically you're making entries as if you are an accountant for the city of Corvallis, Oregon, which, if you aren't aware, is the home to Oregon State University. And why I picked Corvallis, I don't know. They were playing in the College World Series at the time I created this, so they seemed like a good fit for where to start. So anyway, but I may change the city in future semesters in case this is being viewed at a later time. All right, so the assignment instructions, which is the actual entries you're going to be making, those are on the assignment instructions tab, and you'll see here it gives you a few of the instructions on how to use the workbook, but a exhaustive list, and I try not to be too exhaustive in the workbook instructions on actually how to use the workbook are found on the workbook instructions tab. And so what you're going to do is, first of all, as you see here, I already have the page layout, the print areas set. And so if you want to have a copy next to you, so you're not having to constantly switch back and forth between the tabs, it should already be set up for you to just print. And it will print the instructions for all of the, I guess, 8 modules, 2 through 9. Another option is you can open up your own, a separate Excel workbook if you have dual monitors, and you can just highlight every column here and copy and paste it over to a new workbook. If you want to have it all on the screen and maybe you don't have access to a printer. Or you can print it to PDF. That's another option, and have that open. But as I said, all the page breaks should already be lined up so that if you want to hand Module 3 to somebody else, that's fine too. I would encourage you, even if you are kind of dividing up the work among group members, I would encourage all of you to work through the problems yourself, even if it's not, I guess, your module to turn in. Not only do you double check the work that somebody else, one of your group mates, is doing, but you also it's good for you in terms of doing well in the class to understand all of these entries and understand what's being done. So anyway, I would just advise you, even though I'm going to say a lot of this in this little video here, read the workbook instructions tab carefully. And I'll tell you some of the big ones in this, but just read those carefully. Also, again, this is my creation, and and there's no guarantee I haven't messed up somewhere. Please let me know. If you see something that's not right, you see something that would be helpful if I did it a certain way or didn't do it a certain way, I'd love the feedback. So just know that I'm open to the idea that I have errors in this workbook, but it should be okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to be making these various entries you're going to be making these various entries to the various journals that you see down here: the general fund, the capital projects fund, the debt service fund, the enterprise fund, which in this case the enterprise is the municipal airport fund, and the tax agency fund. And then all throughout the semester, for the general fund, for capital projects fund, and the debt service fund, you are going to be making entries into the government-wide journal. And this is the where the whole dual track accounting comes from. There's going to be some entries like those related to budgets. There is no budget recorded in the governmental activities and government-wide journal. So, there's going to be entries where you're not making a quote, a second entry into this other set of books. And there's going to be other funds like the enterprise fund where there is no difference between what the entry would look like in the enterprise fund and the government-wide journal. So you're not going to make an entry there because for financial reporting purposes, which is the purpose of this government-wide journal, those two journals are just merged together for reporting purposes. And we'll get more into that in module 2 and 4 about kind of how all the funds break down. But anyway, so you're going to be making these entries into these various journals here and using the instructions that you find on the assignment instructions tab. Feel free to, now, I'd be careful in this, but feel free because, I'm trying to give you freedom within this, but also, so because I'm giving you freedom in this, there's some things you can do to mess up this workbook. I'm not able to kind of protect cells from being changed without also preventing you from doing other things to the cells. So hopefully that may change in the future, but for right now, you're wide open. You're wide open to delete something that you shouldn't delete. So you just have to be careful, okay? And that's why I encourage you throughout the assignment to save this workbook at different intervals. So just in case you mess up, you can go back to, say, the one, if you're in module 5 and you mess up, you can go back to the one the copy you saved at the end of module 4 without having to go back and redo a lot of entries, because this is a cumulative problem for most of these journals. So you're going to be going down through here, doing these various entries. Let's see, some of them you'll start to see it be a little more. Module 4 is a big one. Module 5 is a big one. You can see, there's 17 different transactions here in Module 4. And so, like I said, be careful, but feel free to copy and paste anywhere you want to. Like if you want to come in here and let's go back up to Module 2. Here it is. If you want to go here to Module 2 and you want to select these first, I guess, 8 lines or 7 lines, and you want to go here and go to the general fund, and you want to paste them here. Let's see. Paste the values. I would encourage you to paste the value. If you want to do that, that's fine. Just be careful, okay? And so, in any event, this is where you're going to be making your entries, okay? Let's see here. And so here's the amounts. As you can see, this is where you're going to put your debits and credits. This is an important column, the problem column. It's not really important from the end result that you're going to turn in, which is your entire workbook, but the end result I'm going to be looking at is over here in your trial balance column, and I'll get to that in a minute. It's not going to impact you there, but if you don't enter the problem number in this field and make it the same for this field, and you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. If you don't make it the same, then this column right here is not going to work for you. It's a check figure. It helps you make sure that your entry is in balance, okay? So if you type in 2-B in all of these and you start, kind of not paying attention, and you go 2B, you're going to see that throws this column out of balance here, okay? And so when you turn in your work, you should look and make sure that this problem check figure and the journal check figure, which checks the overall table, not just a single problem, it checks the overall table to make sure it's in balance. The problem one makes sure that just this problem 2-B is in balance, right? And so you can see that number changing as I correct that here. This column's not as important either, but not as important as the problem column. But that's for you to identify your modules, because there's going to be some journals like the General Fund where you are going to be making entries in it in modules 2, module 3, and module 4. So if you want to ever filter your transactions to where you only have the entries for module 3, or you only have the entries for module 4, then you'll want to put that there so that you can actually use this filter. This filter is also good when you are filtering by account name or by an amount. If you're out of balance by an amount, and let's say I'm out of balance by 46,730, well, I can go here to the amount column and filter it to see if I can find an entry. And there we go. And see, here's my cause. The problem number is out. So feel free to use the filter functionality on these Excel tables, because it's helpful. And so anyway, but I wouldn't sort things. If you start sorting things, I mean, depending on how you entered your problem number, I would stay away from sort A to Z and sort Z to A. I mean, you can, and it shouldn't mess things up, but it's going to make it where it's difficult for you to go back and investigate something if your work's not perfect and you want to see where you're off, okay? And you've got things in all kind of order. It's best to leave the entry together. So you can see here I've got amounts, I've got problem, I've got module filled in, but I don't have yet, I don't have any balances over here in your trial balance, all right? And that's because the trial balance is going off of your account name. Here's the number one cause that in the few times I've tested this out in previous semesters, I have tested this workbook or some version of it out in previous semesters. The biggest problem happens when somebody, instead of selecting an account that's listed here in the account, or copying and pasting that an account listed there, you could feel free to do that. Like if you already got a bunch of entries here and you're tired of making the same, typing in taxes receivable delinquent over and over again, if you want to copy and paste something that you already know is a valid account name, that's fine, okay? But the problem comes in whenever, if you were to be doing your work on a different workbook, that doesn't have if I try to type in something that's not found in the thing, it's going to give me an error. So that's at least one control there. But if somebody in your group's doing their work on a separate spreadsheet and they email it to you and they say, hey, yeah, here's my entries 5 through 7. And you just take those entries and you try to just copy and paste something there, it's going to let you copy and paste, which is a problem. And it's something I wish it would not allow you to do. But anyway, since it does, it allowed you to do it there. And so you'll notice that's going to throw everything off. If my account over here, if somebody gave me their work and it said this, let me show you this. All right, see, taxes receivable delinquent, except it's spelled, abbreviated, everything. Well, you might think, well, okay, you're good there. That entry's good, but no, this is giving you an error. This is saying that it's not finding this account over here in this list, and so that's a problem, because it's not going to pick up that taxes receivable balance there whenever you are making the entry, okay? And so you have to use the correct accounts in this entry. And as you go, and let's see here. Oh, the reason number 2 that it's not pulling any data yet, even though I do have 3 lines here with valid accounts, is because you have to type in the year for each line too, because you're going to get some modules where you're doing entries for 2018 and 19 or 2017 and 18. And so the trial balance over there requires that you have a year, something in the year column, because it's looking up here at this year. And if you ever need to change the year to view your trial balance for 2018, then that's the place to do it. 2017, you'll notice if I turn 2016, everything's going to go away. That's because there aren't any entries over there for 2016 or earlier. And so it's looking for entries over here that have the year in the column that matches up over here. All right. So I say this in the workbook instructions tab, but it's important to only use accounts from the drop-down list here. Okay. Not typing them in, but as I said, feel free to kind of copy and paste from one line to another. If you're you're using a valid account, that's fine. But here's another thing. In general, as a general rule, don't only type things in or select things in these banded columns, not any of the solid colored columns. These are all formula columns, and they don't need to be tampered with, or else it's going to throw you off and you're going to turn in work, or you're going to have trouble because I give you check figures at the end of every module, a few check figures, and so you're going to be over here going, why am I off? Why am I off? And it's because you changed something over here that you shouldn't have. And it's okay. If you've worked with Excel tables before and you're worried you might have done something to one of these columns, just copy the whatever formula is there and copy it all the way down to replace maybe something where you accidentally hit the delete key on one of the solid color columns. That's okay. Just go back and do it again, and copy and paste it down. And the red there, though, should give you a warning that you haven't typed in a valid account number here, though. So let's see. There was one other thing. So at the end of every module, you're going to, this is for your benefit, but it's what I'm going to grade. And so, if you're checking over your work before you turn it in, you need to come over here and make sure that everything, first of all, balances, that the total here, I use the total debit credits. That's mainly for my benefit. Your total, though, here should be 0. It's not here because I only have a few lines entered on this transaction. But so, this amount for each journal, these two amounts should be 0. On your post-closing trial balance, you shouldn't have, with limited exception that's mentioned in the instructions, you shouldn't have any balances for income or revenue or expenditure accounts or expense accounts. So you should make sure all those are zeroed out. I would make sure in both columns that you have credits for liabilities, you have debit balances for assets. That's one thing I'm not lenient on, because it means that you have not reviewed your work, because that should be something, a red flag to you, both in this class, on this assignment, and just in general when you're reviewing accounting work. If you ever see an asset that has a credit balance, or an expense that has a credit balance, or that's got to be a red flag to you, that shows you something's off. And so if you miss entries, I count off. But if you miss entries and I see cash has a negative $2 million balance, that tells me you didn't look at your trial balance before you turned your work in. And if you did look at it, you didn't really review it as closely as you should in any accounting work that you are working on or turning in a class or in real life. So that's a big one. That's a stickler for me. If I see revenue accounts that have debit balances, that needs to be a red flag to you that something's off there. Let's see. At the end of each module, there's only going to be one module. Module 4, we have to do one other financial statement. It's a statement of revenues, expenditures, and other changes in fund balance. You're going to do, but every other semester, every other module, you're just going to be turning in this entire workbook as it looks now, with the entries filled in and your trial balance populated. And If you're working on a module that's got 2 years, it covers 2018 and 2019. I'll change that myself when I'm grading, so you don't have to worry about you've got the most recent year up here or anything. Let's see. I think that's it. There should be in the assignment instructions. There's usually a hint that will tell you if you're supposed to post a given entry to the government-wide journal as well as the general fund, the capital projects fund, or whatever. So don't worry about kind of going through the entire semester with zero idea about which entries are supposed to also hit this government-wide journal. There's some other hints in here. Occasionally there'll be a page number if it's a particularly difficult entry or entry that I've seen difficulty with over the years. And other than that, I think that is it for this. But as I said earlier, please feel free to send me any feedback you've got, because this is work in progress. I want to make it better. I want to make it where folks, where it's useful to you in terms of learning the material. Anyway, hope it's a great semester and hope you find this useful.